We advise the opinions and views of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
You are what you watch.
Hello, my name is Harrison Watson. Welcome to our program. Let's see what's going on in the world. Gee, a lot. Most especially in the Middle Eastern countries, wherein now they are debating what happens when conflict or there is no resolution to conflict and it just keeps on going. Now, that's okay, I guess, when you can't really make up your minds or if there's no real solutions in front of you. But the problem is, what happens when lives are diminishing or people keep getting killed? Case in point would be Libya, would be, let's see, Egypt, even though now that they've toppled the dictator.
But now you have Syria.
There you go, in Syria, and it's going. Now, this is going to keep going and going and going, but where exactly is it going? I guess we can call this politics, the politics of the situation, and the people bringing back its history, and of course, what we call interests. Interests which come from other countries. Case in point again, let's see the Ivory Coast. Who cares about what's going there? There's no oil, there's no labor, there's nothing we can get for them, so leave them be. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to discuss the Middle East or the world issues. We have enough of our own. The reason I started with that is just to merely point out the fact that, yes, politics is definitely the issue. And it does not necessarily mean political will provide the specific solutions. However, when it comes to politics, there's a lot of things that come into play. 1, media. 2, the personalities. 3, gee, I thought the elections in 2 years, I guess it's begun. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about, in this first part of the first episode of this program, basically the ongoing or about to unfold, because yes, the circus has come to town and the teleserie is about to begin. And it's called the impeachment of Ombudsman Merceditas Gutierrez. To join me one-on-one to talk about these issues as we go along, we have the Professor for International Studies at the Lyceum of the Philippines University, who is also a host here in GNN, a political analyst, and a man who's made his life with media and the international media as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Gil Santos. Hi, Gil. Thank you very much for being here.
Yes, we'll have fun again.
Sorry, ang haba-haba ng intro ko eh.
That's all right.
I had to explain basically the background of what we mean by politics, because in this country, when you say politics, parang, well, they think it's just political or politics as in the politicians, not necessarily. It's about daily life and the interests of everybody that makes the whole.
Don't forget that we have a reputation worldwide that our politics is transactional and personal.
Well, there you go. Those are the considerations.
Yeah.
That's correct. Transactional. Yeah, well,
and
you
personal, yeah.
alam mo naman, how do the politicians say it in this country? It's addition, not subtraction.
That's right.
Diba?
Addition and multiplication.
And multiplication.
And multiplication.
Never subtraction. So there's no real position. There's no solid grounding, no footing. It's wherever or whatever, or meaning pragmatic politics.
Which means it translates to, this is survival. It's
Yes.
just a matter of survival. And as long as you can keep on, a day to day, a year to year,
They'll keep
election to election, they'll keep on going.
They'll keep
and,
going.
and it becomes part of the culture. You see, that is what is mind-boggling, and that is should be our concern.
That's what, our heritage? Because that's our culture.
It has been our heritage now for at least 4 decades. You see.
And continuing, it's well engraved at this point.
That's right. If you consider our colonial past, which is a great almost 400 years, including more than 50 with the Americans, and then 3 with the Japanese.
Yes. And then the
then
Spanish.
The Spanish. And then with the Marcos colonialism.
Oo nga, no? Lahat yun, ano, put together.
Oh, you put them all together, and the sum total, at the end of the day, you say, hey, what kind of culture do we have? We have a culture of violence?
Yes.
Do we have a culture of personal politics?
Correct?
Do we have
Fiefdoms.
Yeah. Do you have a culture of impunity? Because you
Yes.
can do everything, since politics is transactional and personal.
And
you see.
personal.
So this is something that has warped our concept of democracy. I'm afraid,
So
but-
today we're a mutation of our past.
Exactamo, as they say.
Okay, let's go to the ombudsman. Okay, Neil Tupas has banged the gavel and succeeded, got the numbers, and sent it to the impeachment court, which is the Senate.
The Senate, yes.
And the Senate to date has decided on the rules of law
Yes.
rather than basic open impeachment where anyone can go up and say, hey, I don't like you because you did this. Now everyone can contest it. There are specific rules of law. Whether that is good or not, well, it's being hit on both sides.
Well, let's see how that impacts on the whole thing, because that kind of concept means a little more, the way I see it, little more of a drawback to the entire procedure. Why? Impeachment at any given point is not a judicial process.
It's political.
It's political.
Yes.
Ergo, why should you keep on with all the legal niceties? You see, when it is a political exercise.
Why do you think that is?
Okay. Why you think that? I think that is. It's because for the defendant, Mercedes
To give a due
Gutierrez.
process?
Yes. She wants due process, Okay, so what's due process? Due process is anywhere from the political exercise to the judicial end, if you want to put it that way. Okay. What then do we need? In terms of just a political process, you don't need to be so tight and so strict about the evidences, the rules on evidence, the rules on witnesses, the rules on the money trail, the paper trail, the people trail, you see. In short, where you find the jury system working as you have in the United States.
That's what this is supposed to be.
That's what it's supposed to
But
be.
in the very end, it's still a game of numbers. And with half or more than half already biased, alam mo, why go through the process? Let everybody say aye or nay. Do we take her out or not? Ganon din naman ang suma total niyan. Hindi
Yes.
naman court talaga yan eh.
Yes. Now, if the senators are going to be considering what the people have sensed or perceived, while I concede that that's not exactly legal.
It's not legal.
It's not legal.
It's not due process either.
Because
It's mob rule.
exactly, yeah. But there is there could be a compromise with what we can call mob rule. Mob rule can be made to be sure that there is some kind of evidence. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Look at the flames. Are there flames? If there are flames, then there must be some kind of an evidence.
Now
You
we're
see.
getting technical.
Yeah, no, because look, what is the defense that Mercedes Gutierrez can take? Let's look at it from a
Mind you, this is a
layman's-
bright woman.
Yes,
This is
very
a
bright.
legally, this woman is legally astute.
Exactly. There is nothing that's going to prevent her from saying, "Well, look, I have not done anything wrong,"
She's correct.
and that's what she has taken. Why? Because her ombudsman's office is supposed to be legal and technical, so that
No emotions.
quote, no emotions, so
No
that
perception.
quote, the rule of law shall prevail. All right, so the rule of law shall prevail. Meaning, if I don't have witnesses, then I don't have any conviction. I don't have any trial. It's a technicality.
Walang smoking gun.
Yeah, walang smoking gun. Therefore, she can always say, I am going to stick by the rule of law.
But it is not what she says. It's what we call perception, which is, it's all-encompassing.
Well, this is the dilemma now of the senators, because they're the ones who are going to conduct this trial.
So
See,
do you think we're going through a useless exercise? Now, let's go back. Have we ever produced anything out of impeachments? Wait, we did throw ERAP out.
Yes,
but
yes.
it wasn't because of the impeachment itself. That was just the trigger for the second EDSA.
ERAP was forced to get out of the palace because the Armed Forces of the Philippines
Backed out.
specifically
withdrew
specifically,
support.
Yes, withdrew its support. And who was then the chief of staff? The late Angelo
Yes, of course.
Reyes.
Yes,
Now,
of course.
the late Angelo Reyes was also involved in what you call the armed forces of the Philippines scam,
Yes,
scandal,
yes, yes.
you know,
Kay Garcia,
and he
yeah.
decided to end his life
Correct.
rather than involve anybody else higher than him. You see, now, if I was
Boy, a taste of one's medicine.
Right.
Gee,
Now-
hard to swallow.
and that's it.
Yeah.
No more answers to any more questions.
A dead man
Now,
tell no tale.
Yes. Now, if I was Mercedes Gutierrez and I want to protect anybody else,
My
who
gosh.
may,
Do
who
what?
may or may
Do an
not-
Angelo.
No. She doesn't have to do an Angelo Reyes. All she has to do is, I am maintaining what is legally correct, and I am not going to barge from that.
Do you think the people, basically the masses, or even the intelligent or the learned group, will be able to follow the intricate details of the reasons, the morals, and the values of what's about to take place in this teleserie? Do you think people are going to understand what this whole thing is about, even the way we're talking about it? The points of views of just the numbers, the political side versus rule of law, which they have adapted, the biased senators, which you can't blame the senators for, because
Yes,
you have
True.
the opposition and the admin, and the
That's
opposition
true.
before it's now the admin now is
That's
part
true.
of the opposition.
That's true.
And those who benefited from her rule or her judgment versus those who lost out.
That's
Diba?
right.
So,
Yeah.
this political exercise, which we call impeachment, do you think the people in general would really understand, or it's just going to go above their head and we're going to go about the personalities who are going to be in aid of re-election?
Some will understand, most will not.
How sad, no?
Yeah, my worry is those who don't understand, what would their perception be? Would their perception be like, hey,
Niluto na naman.
niluto na naman. Wala na naman tayong walang mangyayari naman
But
dito sa
how
atin.
many
Oh.
congressional investigations have mounted to anything?
Yeah, but
Ang dami eh. I mean, yung mga accidents, yung mga ship accidents, di ba? Ang daming congressional
Yes,
investigation.
yes,
It goes nowhere. It's just a waste of time.
kaya nga, ang sinasabi nila, sige, gawin natin ang gawin yan. Total, makakalimutan naman yan kagad eh. Madali naman yan.
So exercise in democracy.
Yeah.
Yan.
It's an exercise of participatory democracy.
Participatory democracy.
Sasabihin nila. Pagkatapos niyan, wala. Walang ebidensya. Walang witnesses. So, sa makatwid, teka muna. Sasabihin ng ibang tao, anong walang witnesses? Pareho ba nangyayari sa Ampatuan case? Mabuti sana kung ganun lang ay tatanong. Kung hindi ganun lang itanong, and they decide to take things into their own hands. That's bad. That's bad for peace and order, bad for the economy, bad for the society in general. Therefore, what I'm saying is, the senators now are going to be pressured by the perception of some people,
I
of
think
most
what's-
people, and the thinking of some.
My personal perception is the massa, the onlookers, us who are not part of the process, who are not mandated with positions in government, at least Congress and the Senate, don't really understand it, and we're going to watch it, and our perception is basically she's been inadequate in her work as an ombudsman,
Yes.
because she did not file cases
Yes.
when she was due to file cases.
Yes.
That's the general perception.
Not even cases, Harry.
Investigations. even.
Investigation.
Yes,
yeah.
investigations. But those congressmen and senators who are part and parcel of the operations of the administration and their government, they understand more clearly and more in depth what exactly is going on, as to why and how far the ombudsman can go and what she's done and what her powers are, which is independent of the president and of the legislative. Because the ombudsman has to be independent.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, she's doing her part. She's discriminate in her own. It's her judgment. And that's her call. Now, making her independent says that, hey, hindi ka pwede makailam sa amin dito. Basically, ganun nangyayari. So they seem to understand, but they're now in a few. There's conflict again. Which way are they going to go? Go through this exercise, which we know is futile, which is ridiculous, because it's a complete clash, no? A political on rule of law.
But it's highly debatable, Harry, because some people, and rightly so, would say, hey, that's not exactly correct, because there is a smoke So there must be a fire somewhere.
But
There's
so
a
was the
plane.
fertilizer
Yeah.
scam. So
Yeah.
was Jok Volante, and then we had
Yes.
to let him go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he even ran for office. Di
Yeah.
ba? Ikaw
So
naman.
should that be the case?
But it has been.
It has been, correct, it has been. But now, what if people say, hey, that should not be the case?
You mean to tell me that this administration is going to work for the people and not the people trying to get jobs out of the administration?
No, I think it's the people themselves, not this
Oh,
administration.
okay.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm not hopeful anymore. As far as that's
It
concerned,
can't be.
Yeah.
How can you be hopeful? How can you even aspire for something correct when in its history it's never worked?
Exactly.
Then why are we going
Again,
through it? Because
yeah.
a lot of people are asking. Even Enrile, Senate President Enrile says, well, we're going to try to keep it down until December. You and I know it's just not feasible. I mean, when do you even go to court and finish anything within a short period of time? It's just...
No, why even say it must be finished this year? You know, shouldn't it be just logical that because you have a case, then you must finish it?
But we already know that that's not the practice in this country. Gee, it takes what, 50 years for the Supreme Court to decide on anything? It takes how many years? If you have civil cases, madali ang 20, 40,
Yeah,
50
but at the
years.
same time, Harry, we keep on saying we must have change.
While we adhere or we want reform, it's not the reality, and we know that. It's not just perception, it's the reality of things.
Well, in
I mean,
fact-
when you go to court in this country, I mean, ang kikita dito yung abogado, no?
Exactly.
Because that's about it. Kasi both the complainant and the respondent matatalo eh. Because
Yeah.
babayaran nila yung abogado. Meantime, they're just watching, and it's their arena. And the judges who are also mga abogado, sila stay in the middle, and everybody collects a fee.
Because the government here has a reputation of having inept prosecutors.
Well, hang on.
See.
Wasn't it just Pinoy who visited Surigao? Was it General Santos just recently?
No, when I
And,
say that,
I mean, he talked to the prosecutor. Ang galing ng mga ano nila, di ba?
Oo nga,
Resolution.
pero you have to do that with the defense lawyers as a comparison. You see,
Okay.
because who have been jailed? Take any one of the Marcos cronies.
Wala na. We're
Wala.
talking about... well, forget that. We're talking about burying him as a hero. In fact, we should talk about that next. Here, we're going to have to take a short break. Ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen, we hope you are following the quick pace of the conversations. These are open analyses. There's a lot of, how do you say it? Mga ini-inject dyan ng mga ideas. There's also sarcasm being played out. So, sit back, listen intently, and we hope we can help you analyze the situations that keep unfolding in front of us.
And
Believe me.
if they want to send us emails, I am
Yeah,
going
send
to
us
welcome
emails.
that.
There you go. Harry Tambuatco at yahoo.com.
Yeah.
Gil, what's your email
Gil
address?
Santos,
Gil
Gilsan99
Oh, Gilsan99 at Yahoo.
at Yahoo, yeah.
At yahoo.com. Okay, stay put. We'll be right back. Welcome back. My name is Harry Tambuatco. With us we have Professor Gil Santos, who's also incidentally the president of the
Futuristic Center.
Futuristic Center.
Yeah.
Gil, let's go. Let's wrap up Merceditas just very quickly. So where do you think it's going?
I think it's going to this. She is going to maintain that she is within the law, and her mandate is to be legal.
So she will prevail after the whole exercise.
She might prevail after the whole exercise.
Actually, I agree with you.
Yeah. It depends really on the senators on how they look at it. You see.
I tend to agree with you
Yeah.
because she really doesn't look like she's done anything legally incorrect or wrong.
Because what happens here is, see, Mercedes Gutierrez is only the front. The real story here,
Of course, we realize
real
that.
story here is Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and her family. You see,
And the cronies.
and the cronies. So, will it go to that? Will it really go to that with substance? If it cannot, then people are going to be frustrated.
Unless mob rule prevails.
Well, that is not so healthy for the society.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
either way, talo. So she's going to prevail.
Yeah, she's
That's
going
what's
to
going to happen.
prevail,
Either
yeah.
mob rule or
Yeah.
her, because
Ah.
if mob rule prevails, it's bad for us.
And what we can only say is, I hope we're wrong.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to other issues. Ferdinand Marcos was a dictator for close to 20 years. And,
21 years, yeah.
Yeah, 21
21 years.
21
yeah.
years. And today, the biggest event or the biggest issue, current event, is, well, should we bury him? Now, I've exchanged a lot of emails with you, and a lot of the friends and analysts have been emailing back and forth about how they feel. You know where everybody stands right away when they send their email. They either curse him
Yeah.
or they put him
Praise
up.
him, yes,
And
yes.
the question is, I guess it boils down to, why should we put him in the hero's cemetery when he's not a hero? It was all created. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel that he's not a hero in the sense of the word, that you bury heroes in the libingan ng mga bayani, you know. Because a hero is not supposed to have any crime against the state. But Marcos has been accused of crimes against the people. And in our case, we being a participatory democracy, the people are the state. you know.
But there are those who say that, well, he did get those medals and whatnot for fighting the war in the Japanese during that time. So give him that at the very least.
Well, no, we should recognize his bravery and his heroism in fighting the Japanese.
Right.
Yeah, but as a whole, a hero should not have anything accusing him of.
But
crimes
wasn't that
against
the same
people.
case as Angelo Reyes? He was being accused, although he did not sit back long enough to sit back and watch where it was going or whether he's going to get finally indicted or not. He took it upon himself and went ahead, but nevertheless, all fingers were pointing at him.
Yes.
But they
and
buried him.
They buried him
in
there.
there,
Yes, yes.
the-
And they
the
allowed
heroes.
the burial. you know.
Correct.
But in this case, was there any real charge against him by the people?
Not yet.
Not yet, you see.
No, but every
In the case of Marcos, that has been elevated, in fact, to the courts. But nothing has happened yet.
Nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Exactly my
Yeah.
point. But everything is perception again, because the courts, well, inadequate as they are, have not judged anything.
But here is one thing wrong, I think, one thing wrong with our system. Unless you have been convicted, even if you're in charge in court, if you're not yet convicted,
You're still innocent.
you're still innocent. And even if you're convicted, if you appeal your case, you're not yet.
Not yet.
It's not yet final and executory.
You can
You're
go all the way
still
to the
not-
Supreme Court and keep
Yes.
it there for 50 years
Yes,
until
yes.
you pass on. And you're still
in
not
the
indicted and
in
no
the meantime,
conviction.
you can run for public office.
Yes, walang conviction.
Look at what happened to Imelda.
That's right. She's back in.
She's back in. Never mind
Yeah,
the
one
children.
time at the start of this this Congress, they wanted her to go to the United Nations to represent who was it, the poor or something
The
like
poor,
that.
yes, yeah.
Ibang klase eh.
Well, she would hardly be representative of the poor.
Well, her
But-
son is a tricycle driver, security guard, so why not? And one. And one. So, where do you think that is going? Every time they make an effort to put Marcos to lay him to rest in the Libingan, it has
Now that you have a group of congressmen led by Salvador Escudero,
yes, Salvador,
as the,
Sorsogon,
Sorsogon,
father of
representative.
senator.
Yes, Chis Escudero.
Chis.
Yeah. They claim they have more than 200 signatures.
I read that in the
All right,
newspaper.
all right. Does that mean they're going to put him in there? They might be able to put him there on the basis of those signatures. But you're not, I'm sure you're going to have people of all levels.
You mean it's going to be like the RH bill,
Yes, yes, yes.
which is going nowhere? It's
Going
just creating
nowhere
divisions.
and warping. It's warping the culture, and it depends on that. Now, what is going to be the attitude of the investors local and foreign investors in this country, to this country. What does that do us any good in the short run and in the long run?
Well, it seems our politics is not doing us any good anyway at the rate it's going. Be it for the RH bill, I mean, all it's done is create divisive factors. Now you have the church. Gee, in the village where I live, it's ridiculous. They even have tarpaulins outside. On both opposition and the proponents for are both saying yes to life. I mean, gee, yes to life, but one is against, one is for. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's creating divisions within the community, which is not good.
And in that case, there's more emotion than there is real reason going in on the RH bill.
On the RH
on
bill.
the RH bill. But I think also because of
the same thing with Marcos, we're creating divisions. We have those who believe that he has done this, and there are those who feel otherwise. So
the only thing that they should really do is make a poll. Make a poll. Now, if the real people themselves, the respondents.
You mean go back and use Smartmatic and come up with electronic results?
No, not a poll.
Which is not real?
No, not a poll of that nature. I'm proposing a poll of your universe, your people who are going to be involved answering questions. The questions about Marcos should be a minimum of 12,000.
12,000 survey
people.
report. 12,000 samples, you mean?
Samples, yeah. Questionnaires, so that 12,000 people are going to answer directly to those questions.
Right now, I think my perception again is it seems to be right in the middle. There are those who are for and there are those who are anti. In my own house, I have both proponents of both for and against.
Well,
so I can imagine. I look at that survey sample outside my family. I think it's the same thing.
Also, we must keep in mind that most of the majority of our people today were born after martial law.
Ako martial law baby ako eh.
So how much memory do they have of Marcos?
Actually, very little.
In fact, they don't remember it anymore. Yeah. All they know
don't you think we should address it once and for all and go forward, or just let it sleep and just let it be? Are we going to keep that body there and create a memorial to him, which is what we've done in Batak? You know how many people visit that regularly? It's
then keep it there. Keep it there.
Oh my gosh, it's like having a Stalin all over again.
It's good for Batak. It's good for Ilocos Norte. It's tourist income. What's bad about that?
Yeah, but it's the income is not significant. It's only the museum per se, which is already dying anyway from cost. But
I say if the Ilocanos hold him as a hero,
leave it be.
Then let it be so. But if the rest of the country don't,
but isn't that also against our culture? This guy who's not allowed to be buried. Di ba may kultura tayo na kailangan natin? Eh kung mga Muslim, kailangan ilibing na nila the very same day of death. Tayo, my gosh, how many years later? 2 decades?
But do you think the ordinary people will object if they bury him now, anywhere? They won't. They won't.
So I think the fault here maybe is also the Marcos family. They should just bury him once and for all and just get it done with and go forward.
Yeah, but basically. You see, Mrs. Marcos doesn't want to do it that way. She wants her own, quote, truth, unquote, prevail.
Well, you got to remember that was the dying promise. Diba she made supposedly with the president.
Yeah. So as far as that's concerned, it's going to be going as, that's going to drag.
Let's squeeze in one more topic, Gil, because I really enjoy having you here, and basically your profession is international studies.
Yeah.
Let's talk briefly about what's going on around the world, basically the Middle East and Africa.
Okay.
What exactly is going on? Now, okay, we started with Tunisia. The Tunis are in more of a quandary in turmoil now that they took down their president. Hussein Mubarak is down in Egypt, and just like the Iraqis, they're more in turmoil and they're more in disarray. But the revolution seems to have metastasized, and the sensation of freedoms and democracy has spread to first Libya, wherein they're both sides dying. It's a stalemate, basically. Syria, it was at one point in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia to a certain extent, and it's going around. What's happening? Where do you think this is going? What's your analysis with the world events?
Okay, my analysis is Saudi Arabia first, because it's the biggest oil producer. You know, oil, and we know oil fuels the industries of the world. Now, Saudi Arabia's king did a very, very important thing. he was recuperating in Morocco, remember? And he decided,
He released $21 billion.
yes, yes,
Overnight.
that is his,
Share it with the people.
that's his own way of saying, hey, look, you guys stop this nonsense. Huh?
I'll buy you back.
I'll
Here's
buy you
21
here.
B.
And he did. And what happened? That checked it, you see. But in the case
For
of
now.
yeah, for now. But in the case of Gaddafi, it's different. Now he has just lost that city leading to Tripoli, and the rebels have it. Why? Why do they have it? Because now you have increases in the NATO attacks against
Boto ka ba
the
dun?
strong-
Boto ka ba dun,
Yes,
NATO?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
NATO,
Meaning-
but being led by the French, the Berlusconi, and of course America.
Yes.
But
the
di ba
Americans,
Libya, regardless of the civil war that's taking place, isn't that a sovereign country?
I know.
Nakikialam.
Yeah,
But
but
why don't they do the same in the Ivory Coast?
it depends on the priorities of the priority will now depend on how much do you contribute to my economy. You see, that's the whole thing. It's still linked to geopolitics, geoeconomics.
You got to remember, the West and these very powers are the ones that went to bed with Gaddafi for many years, or Gaddafi bought them.
Well,
Better yet.
Well, also these are the same people who went to bed with Osama bin Laden.
Correct. And Al-Sam in Syria.
Exactly. Yes.
But
now,
where is that going? And it's going to affect us because of oil.
well, to a certain extent, it's going to affect us. Yes. In the case of staples and basic commodities, prices also going up. No, but as far as the monetary policies are concerned, it's not going to affect us that much.
No.
No, because well, to start with, we're not an
We're not
exporting.
exposed. Yeah, we're not exposed.
We're not
to them.
exporting
But-
economy.
I see a bigger picture. If they don't check these revolutions taking place, all in the name of democracy, hey, China's not too far off. Because China is one of the biggest problems when it comes to anti-democratic ways.
Yeah.
And then, diba, and they're already having these problems with that artist,
Yes.
Weiwei, diba,
Yes,
and whatnot.
yeah.
But China is going to be the next. And if China gets it, gee, tatamaan tayo dito. Miski pa paano.
Tatamaan tayo maski paano. But this one case is where China exercises the monolithic, still monolithic, in spite of what they call a revised communist rule. You know, it's not so. What the top says goes, still goes.
Oh, yun na nga.
What the Central Committee says still goes, you see. So as far as control of the people inside, I think the Chinese still have it. They're
But-
not just going to be collapsing the way the others are
But
doing it.
you got to remember, what did they say? They say it's Facebook and the internet that's injected a lot of freedom that fuels these revolutions because of the lure of democracy and freedoms. It's the same thing that's going to happen to China if these things don't get checked. I mean, they
The
call
Chinese,
them...
yeah, but the Chinese are going to be more concerned about jobs than they are of freedom. You see, what we don't usually take into consideration, people who don't know much about China, is the fact that they still have 350 million people who don't eat 3 meals a day. Because of the size of the population, they're minority who are really marginalized and way down the quagmire of poverty. It's really much more than anybody else in this world. Now, you have this kind of urban renewal, urban growth that they have in the cities because of the 5 economic zones on the southeast of China, which is contributing to the exports that the Chinese have worldwide. What's that story? What you find in the United States are all made in China.
Yeah, even here.
Even here.
Even
so
here.
what happens there is you now have people trying to go to the urban areas just to find jobs. And that's going to be an internal problem, which is going to be far removed from liberty and
So
freedom
migration
and
is
democracy.
going to... So internal migration is just going to keep more and more people focused on jobs just to live.
Yes, just to survive.
While
you know.
in the Middle East, they do have problems with food security, but more of the lure of democracy and freedom.
Yes. Why? Because they're more exposed to it. They being the producers of oil.
Where do you think all this fighting and revolutions and civil wars going in the Middle East? Do you think it's
I
going to keep? Is it going to stalemate? Are we going to see this for another year
Oh, I think we'll steal it for another year or two.
Or
yeah.
two.
Or two, yeah. Because after the rebels have taken over, as in the case of Libya, I'm sure the face of the rebels are going to change. It's now going
You
to
mean
be
like here, the opposition became the administration.
Exactly.
So ganun din yan, away pa rin yan. So
away
walang
pa rin
solusyon
yan.
yan. So I
Meron,
get, it's
pero
mob rule
matagal,
again.
matagal yan.
It looks like in Egypt they have more problems now than when they had Mubarak. What's his name? Hussein Mubarak.
Yes.
Mukhang- Tunisia seems to be that problem. Iraq is definitely a problem. Who was that who said, the guy, Trump of all people, who was saying in Iraq, if we're gonna leave Iraq, let's take their oil. Because kukunin lang naman ng Iran to eh. Unahan na natin eh. Wow, pragmatic, very pragmatic. But really, Iraq is a mess. And you can't stay in Iraq because it's not owned by America. Unless in modern day they want to colonize it, which can't be the case.
What people should be looking at really is what is the trend? Because that is much more important. What is the trend? What are the strategies of the rebels? See, the rebels, most of the time, don't really have a vision of their country after they take over. After they take
Looking
over.
at them holding the guns, I mean, they're just firing it in the air.
I mean, look at what we had.
Di ba? Yun na nga eh.
Dito, we're saying, oh, this is a bloodless revolution. But
look what it's produced us. It's still a mess. It's still a mess.
Kaya nga, do we want it this way? Now, there's got to be a stop to this. And there must be some people sane enough to think, teka muna, tingnan natin, saan ba tayo pupunta? Anong gusto natin? Yung ba'y pinag-isipan na natin? Have we really thought, what do we want to be after we take over? In most cases, none. Nobody.
But isn't that our situation today here? Given the opposition now, the people in
Kaya nga
power, wala nga eh. Wala pa rin platform, wala pa platforma, wala pang roadmap.
Kaya nga nagkakaganon dahil sa yung
Hindi prepared.
Hindi prepared, yes.
Hindi
They
prepared.
only survive just to take over and sabihin, hindi bali na, pagkatapos natin manalo, tsaka natin isipin yon. Hindi ganun eh. Hindi ganun. Dahil pag ganun ang ginawa mo, talaga walang mangyayari sa'yo.
Are the interests of America and Europe, it will prevail keeping the revolutions going?
Exactly. Yeah.
So tama nangyayari.
Tama, para sa kanila. Pero para dun sa bayan na nahihirapan, iba yung ibang usapan.
They will just die. Ano yan?
Maybe it's one way of depopulating the whole world.
At the rate they're going, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, because at 2050, if we don't watch out, the world is going to be 14 billion people.
Thanks to the RH bill. I meant that sarcastically being reversed.
Now, this is what we're saying. At the Futuristic Center, what we're doing is, let's now pause and take a look at what are we going to be in 2050.
Let's go into your next seminar. You're doing a new forum on Mindanao. Let's go into that with the Futuristic Center, because that's all tied into this.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
let's talk about that issue, because
Okay.
you're putting that together.
What is all about Mindanao? Mindanao is just about the richest area. Natural resources-wise, we have in the Philippines. It's also the most neglected.
Did you know during Good Friday, this strikes me, because Good Friday, just this past week, I was watching on one of the mainstream TV, a show on prime time. They were depicting the poorest area, poorest of the poor, and they were hitting on one part of Palawan, and then finally it was in Surigao, and they were showing the poorest of the poor, and walang makain. And I'm like, hey, hang on. Hindi naman totoo ata yan, and if it is true, why are you focusing on them who have 8 to 10 to 12 children? There was one even woman who looked like she's 15 years old with a 3-year-old son, di ba? And she's complaining. And they would go to these poor people and say, kung may oportunidad ka, sulatan ng presidente, anong gusto mong sabihin sa presidente? Ang sagot nila, of course, we already know, I want this, I want that,
Yeah,
di ba?
yeah.
But what I don't understand, to make the show not biased, which it obviously was, I'm not sure the objective of the writers or the directors, the
Or do
producers.
they know? Or
Do they even know? Why don't they interview the politicians who are mandated to take care of these places? The governor, the mayors.
Hindi, kailangan nga hari ganito eh. You know, having a vision of a nation or a part of that nation is just like drawing a picture. Except in this case, the first vision must come from the people. Because if the people themselves own the vision, they're going to fiercely defend it against anything else.
But if there is
against
no
anybody.
education, they don't know their morals, their values. It's already been corrupted by media and TV.
Hindi.
Wala na nga eh.
Hindi. Pwede pa rin. It's an art and it's a science, Harry. And it can be done because we have done it before. We've done it before. And this is the whole process. We can talk about this at length in another show. What you do is you have both the people on top.
Right.
The politicians, the academicians, the people who are captains of industry because they know what's going on around the world. And right now, in this age of information and globalization, everything depends on everything and everybody. There's no such thing as borders anymore. And therefore, the people on top can see this. Those who read, get informed every day, every minute, they know this. But the people down don't know. So the people down are going to be asked, what is it that you want? It's not. Then the other question is, what is it that you need? Because want and need are two different things. You and I may want one Mercedes-Benz, but can we afford it? That's another way.
Do you need it?
Do you need it? Is your life going to be dependent on the Mercedes?
No, I need a helicopter like a hole in the head.
Yeah, like a
Ganun
hole in the
dapat
head. Correct, yeah.
Well,
Now,
your forum, what do you want to establish with Mindanao, the Mindanao
what
issue?
we want to establish are both from the top and the bottom to meet at the middle. And the ones from the, if you want to use scientific terms, the ones from the bottoms are going to get up by osmosis. The ones on the top are going to get down by gravity. And their thoughts would gel at the center, and that is going to be your picture, real picture. What is doable? What is the dream? What is the want? What is possible?
How can you generate participation from the grassroots going up? We know from the top bringing them down. We just invite them, they'll participate. How about from the grassroots going up?
And the grassroots, you can do that by picking the gatekeepers in each community.
NGOs or barangay captains?
NGOs, yes, NGOs should have a hand in this. The DILG, because the barangay captains are in the forefront of all this, must be taught how to do this because this is not an overnight orientation course, Harry. It's going to take some time just to inform the people of what they should do to be able to arrive at a decision on what they want, what they need, what is possible and what's impossible. The difference between the dream and reality, it's something that has to be nurtured. And I assure you, Harry, it cannot be done if we're going to talk of the 49,000 barangays. Cannot be done in 4 years.
Hindi kaya.
Hindi kaya. Kaya nga, it is going to be evolutionary because we don't want revolutionary thing. A revolutionary thing is going to be very upsetting because that
move now with no direction.
That's more than, it's going to be more than a tsunami and an earthquake altogether. You see.
It's what's happening in the Middle East.
Yun ang mahirap. Kaya nga, ang sasabihin natin ngayon, it has to be something that's deliberate and sustained so that tayo sa Futuristic Center, that's what we're doing. We're saying to the people in Mindanao, this is what has to be done.
Can we invite our viewers, to those who want to know more about the Futuristic Center, can you tell them how to be part of it, how to get involved?
Well, they can always go to the website, Futuristic
That's
Center.
the best. Read up on it first.
It's available in the website, and it's also available in Video Mio vspan.asia. You see, either way, they can see it, and they can see who are in there and what does it stand for. Where is it going? What's the direction?
And if they wish to participate and be part of this NGO, they may by
they
just
are
asking.
welcome.
Yeah.
Well, they're
well,
welcome
just type
all the
in and solicit your participation if that's what you want.
Right.
Gil, we're at the end of the program. You know, every time I have you here, I have to hold my breath. You know. So your parting words.
Yeah. Well, my parting words is this: at whatever development we are looking at today, we've got to look at it 5, 6, 7 steps ahead of it. Because that's the only way we can see what's coming, what's the future. I suggest that we have this as a discipline to ourselves and to the national discipline itself. Because if we do that, we can be ahead of Japan. We can be ahead of Australia. With all the resources in this country, if we just get together and see that as a direction towards our strategic position on this earth, among the family of nations and states, then we can go forward, really.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you've enjoyed our program. Well, yes, that's political analysis, and don't take it as truth. It's not just truth as it is. Remember, it requires your participation and understanding to help you understand and analyze all the issues that are unfolding. All these issues we talked about, both local and international, make part of the whole of what we are and where we're going. Don't forget, when one hiccups there, believe me, the other side feels it. The problem is, like you said, there are no longer any borders. It's called one universe, one global system, one people. So we hope you've enjoyed our program. Maraming salamat po. My name's Harry Tambuatco. Stay with GNN, and we'll be back next week. Same time, same channel.
Okay.
You are what you watch.